Good evening, everyone. This is a regular meeting agenda governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale, Tuesday, February 18, 2025 at 7 p.m. We'll call this meeting to order by the salute to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor D'Amato.
Over here. Here.
Councilman Bronkers.
Present.
Councilman Catalano.
Here.
Councilman Graziano is excused this evening. Councilwoman Hudson. Here. Councilwoman Schubert. Here. Councilman Yasi.
Here. Also, we have Municipal Clerk Brianna Smith, Business Administrator Michael Sondemar, and Borough Attorney Dawn Sublin. This meeting is called to pursuant of the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. Adequate notice of this meeting was advertised in the Herald News on January 9, 2025. Copies were provided to the local news media and posted continuously in the municipal building. A copy of this notice is available to the public on file in the office of the municipal clerk. As per state fire code, I am required to acknowledge that there are two emergency exits in this council chambers. The main entrance which you enter through, and the secondary exit to the left of where I am seated. If there is an emergency, walk orderly to the exit through the door, down the stairs, and out the building. If there are any questions, please raise your hand. Seeing none, we do not have any non-agenda items. Can we open up the early public comment reserved for agenda items?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Seeing no one, do I have a motion to close early public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Report of committees.
Good morning. Hello, Mayor. I have, for the Tri-Borough, First Aid Squad, their calls for January were 168 calls. They have a breakfast that's, Sunday, March 23rd. It's a pancake breakfast. I can't get this any bigger. And they also have their craft fair in St. Anthony's, and I can't open up the file, it's too small. For the Bloomingdale Public Library, they have a porch leaner paint and sip that's coming up on February 23rd. They're encouraging people to sign up because the attendance, if attendance isn't a little higher, they might need to postpone it. They're also pushing back the date of the designer handbag bingo from March to April, and their dueling piano event, it's still to be determined. And as always, check out their website. They're encouraging all of our residents to register and get library cards, and to enjoy their family story times and their baby story time. They have open play times, book clubs, and child and adult crafts at the library, and also at the senior center. There is on February 24th, there's art class with Miss Liana from 6 p.m. At the senior center, and the adult craft night will be on March 26th at 7 p.m. and you must register to attend. For the Rose Fund, there was a lot of they spoke about a lot of line items, which I know Mike has. There's something on new on the for the budget, and they're also, and as far as the seniors center, they have a lot of activities in February, also available on the town website for land dancing, chair aerobics. They have a community outreach coming up Thursday, March 20th, at the Bloomingdale Senior Center. Um, There's no appointment needed, and you don't need insurance to attend. And they have a trip leaving the senior center to the Paper Mill Playhouse. Their presentation of Take the Lead on April 10th. There's a $25 deposit required. Also, look, you can find this information out at the senior center website.
Okay, very good. Dawn?
Yes, dog and cat licenses are due now. If they're not received by March 1st, residents will be charged an additional $10. February 25th is the Ramadan Crescent lighting at Town Hall, 6:30 p.m. Borough offices, that was yesterday, sorry. There's one remaining rabies clinic on March 1st from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Riverdale DPW garage on Dalton Drive. Board of Health, there is an open position for an alternate for the Board of Health. Should you have any interest, you can find the Borough volunteer form on the website under forms, and then that gets, once you filled out the form, that gets sent to Bree, which her email address is on there. At last 2 weeks ago, council meeting, John Graziano read everything off for me. He talked about the ordinance that the Board of Health introduced. We introduced an ordinance. It wasn't a resolution. I just want to make sure that that's clear. That was for massage, body work, and somatic therapy. And the Passaic County Health Department is offering free eye and hearing screenings and children's well clinics, which is state-required vaccinations and physical exams. That's for those uninsured individuals. You can call 973-881-4396 to schedule an appointment. And that is it.
Right?
Nothing for tonight.
Dave? Donna? Mike?
Just one thing, we have a resignation from the DPW, and we did post that position on social media, and then probably 8 applications so far, so we're going to place that.
That's to replace JP.
Yeah.
Great.
No report, thank you.
Dawn?
Nothing this evening, no.
Just for me, I went down yesterday and visited the animal shelter. And Lisa was down there and gave me just a tour of the shelter with, she really appreciated the new fence that's in. Actually, there's a tree down there that's hanging over that fence. It's dead. You might want to go take a look at it before we have to replace the fence again. But it was real interesting of the process. They had people down there that were taking the cages apart and cleaning them and, through the shelters. And they had 3 beautiful dogs down there. They were a little bit loud when I walked in, but they were gorgeous. And all 3 of them were part husky with the blue eyes, so it's pretty neat. But that's pretty much it for me.
Maybe the mayor needs.
No, I don't need any. I have one. Not yet, anyway. Okay. Resolution. Too late.
Something I'd like to consider here as part of the agenda, the consent agenda. It's just worth thanking our guy for his time on the commission. So I know he's a veteran, and he's taken
And actually, all 3 members that are resigning, Shelby Myers from the Board of Health, put a lot of time in. She'll be a loss. And Joseph Fortunato, who is moving on to bigger and better things for him and his wife. So we hate to see all 3 of them leave. And also, item D, before we approve this, Samuel M.R. Earl is becoming an Eagle Scout. He's a resident, and I've been invited to go down and do a presentation, and John knows the family, so he got an invite, so we'll be attending that on March 1st. And I think it's out in Rockaway where they're doing it, so congratulations to Sam. Okay, resolution number 2025, 2.9 consent agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call.
Ronkhurst,
Yes.
Catalano,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Schubert,
Yes.
Yazdi,
Yes.
Item 9, pending business, second final reading and public hearing, ordinance number 5-2025, amending Chapter 2 recreation fees for hiking group, club, and coaching? Catching, yes. I don't even know what that is, but,
We can tell.
yeah. Okay. Public notice statement, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in the municipal building, published in the Herald News, and copies were made available to the public so that a motion may be made that it be read by title.
Have a motion to read by title.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale and the County of Passaic and State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 2 Administration, Section 2-64.11, Fees for Recreation Programs of the Code of the Borough of Bloomingdale.
Okay. Do I have a motion to open up public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to come up? Seeing no one, a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion for adoption. I would explain this, but it's just another,
Okay.
program that the recreation group is putting out, and like I said, I don't know what geocaching is. So, motion for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Catalano?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Schubert?
Yes.
Yazdi?
Yes.
Ronkhurst?
Yes.
Okay. New business, adoption of resolution 2025 2.16. Motion to pay the bills.
I'll make that motion.
It's real quiet.
You didn't say, can someone make a motion?
Yeah, yeah.
For you to say that.
Yeah, I need someone to make a motion. I make the
He
motion.
used different terminology.
Yeah.
He threw everybody off.
That's okay. To pay the bills?
Yes.
Yeah. Roll call.
Hudson?
Yes.
Schubert?
Yes.
Yazdi?
Yes.
Ronkhurst?
Yes.
Catalano?
Yes.
Okay. Item B, adoption of resolution number 2025 2.17, award disposal of solid waste contract to Gata, Do you have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions about that?
Mr. Mayor, we did go out to bid, and Gator was the low bid out of 4, I believe we received 4 quotes.
Yes.
Okay.
But it is an increase over last year.
Last year.
Big,
Everywhere.
biggie?
Everywhere.
So,
It's not light, and it grows over,
$17 a ton. It was 77, and the new price, I think, 94.
94, and they were the lows.
Yep.
And of course, you have to do this, so
It's everywhere.
roll call, please.
Schubert?
Yes.
Yazdi?
Yes.
Ronkhurst?
Yes.
Catalano? Hudson?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to open up late public comment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone wishing to come up? Steve, how are you?
How's it going, everyone? Stephen Pardalis, 2 High Street, Bloomingdale. So, I've seen the last couple of meetings, I haven't been here, I watched them on Zoom. There's been some comments by the council regarding the referendum. Some, during the initial section, we all did your reports, there was some commentary, and I wanted to come here tonight and discuss some of that, if that's right with you guys. So, I guess the first point was there's a lot of comments over the last few weeks that this is a very separate issue, that the Board of Ed is doing its thing, the council has its thing, and it's very separate. There's been things like we're not involved, it's a school decision, things like that. But there is collaboration, right? You guys are talking,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, and kind of a lot of it. You're having meetings about it, you're talking about it together. To kind of say it's a whole separate thing and the two are completely distinct, I just don't think that's really being forthright. I believe there was discussion about, basically how the council can help the board pass their resolution. And to say like that's kind of in their court, we don't deal with it till later, but there was discussions about maybe,
Hold on, just let him finish. In direct, could you just stop? All right, everything's got to come through me, and then we'll go through that, okay? Go ahead, Steve.
yeah, so, to jump on that, there's monthly collaboration meetings, right, between the board and the council? Right, and at one of those meetings at least, the council discussed whether they could support the board by either passing a resolution, issuing a press release, or even providing information to taxpayers through their electrical bills or their tax bills. This was all efforts taken by the council to help the board, which is perfectly fine, but then to sit here and watch, you know, discussions about how, oh, that's completely them, we're completely us, we're not really, you know, involved in that, it doesn't seem exactly upfront. So
I just think you're missing the point, because I made the comments, is when they make a decision to go to referendum, and how they do it is really up to the Board of Education. And yes, they did ask for our support, and I've said it publicly that I support the referendum totally, because I know what the school's like, I know what it's like inside, and I know what's coming down the pipe. But when they're making their decision to put it out to the public, and all their documentation, and all the flyers that they're putting out, that is, the Board of Education is doing that. They've asked us how we can help support it financially, and I can't give them the exact answer, because we're not there yet. But I believe us as a council are supporting the referendum to close the Donald School and build an addition. This school should have been closed many, many years ago. I was in that school last week, or the day before our last council meeting. The gym floor is a total mess. The walls are a total mess. There's problems with the boiler system going on there, and that just isn't because of what's going on. That's been problems for a few years. So we do support that, but how they advertise it to the public, they asked us to put stuff in the electrical bills, correct? And we will do that. We're helping them do that. But their decision to go to a referendum and come all about this and how they're putting it all together, that's their group. We've had meetings with them, and they talk about financially, what are we gonna do? And I'll pilot, are they gonna get part of that? I said, I can't make that decision because I don't have a pilot in my hands yet. Okay, and I've said that publicly many times. They're asking, and to be honest with you, I'll go back even further. The way this kind of started, going back, I always wanted to build a rec center and a new library for the town. So we said, wouldn't it be great if we can do this all together and put it on one piece of property? Well, that went by the wayside because cost was going crazy. All right, we have a nice library here. We use the Fireman's Hall for the rec center. We have a good rec commission that we use here, the senior center, and our fields, and there's more stuff going on. So that's not happening. That's how we were getting involved. All right, but to build the classrooms and do all that, they got their own architect, they did everything, they showed us the pictures of it. It's their decision, it's their committee moving it forward. Do we meet with them? Yes, we do. The meetings last about, what, a half an hour, 45 minutes? Right, you're on that committee, and Mike, and Dominic sits, and now Dave's our representative to the Board of Ed. But we have nothing to do with the sale, okay? They have to sell it, it's their building. We have no say on how that goes for bid. That is their baby. Once it's done, and if that comes to the town, that's when we really get involved and decide with zoning and all that stuff that's up there. That's what I said last meeting and the meeting before that. We get involved once the building is going for sale, because then we have to put things in place. If they're gonna advertise it, they should advertise what it could possibly be. Otherwise, they're not gonna get the proper bids in. Could it stay public? Could another school come in and buy it, a charter school? Sure, it goes to the bid process. It's no different, we go out and do a road job. We have to go out for bid and take the low bidder. It is what it is. Hopefully, they take the high bidder.
right, but you also both talked about a public purchase of the property wouldn't make much sense. That's in the meeting minutes, that you got, that a public entity purchasing it, which just wouldn't help fund the referendum
But you
project.
can't, it does help fund it, but you can't control the bid process. If a nonprofit comes in and buys it, that's the gamble they're taking. Am I explaining that right?
Right, then their $5 million valuation that they're counting on for taxpayer support is gonna be in the gutter, so that's gonna be a big hole there.
We are not there yet. I can't, after the referendum's decided one way or the other, that's when the ball will start rolling on what can happen there, what can't happen. It's gonna take, I believe, 2 years to build it.
And the
right?
$5 million valuation is on the sale price. So
Yeah.
that sale price is regardless of who's purchasing the property.
Yes.
To the taxpayer would be the revenue produced from the property based upon who purchases it.
Yeah, but they're using the sale price, to reduce the amount they're asking for the taxpayer.
Correct, correct.
So,
That's the
so if it
sale
does,
price.
so if it doesn't sell for what it should sell for, what they've evaluated it for, which
This is the
is,
distinguishing fact between the separation between their board and ours, right? We didn't write their plan for how to build the school and fiscally how to put this together. We support the plan that they put together, but their evaluation for $5 million
They had the price.
had it went through their appraiser. We didn't hire that appraiser, we didn't come up with that figure, right? And when we say that it's two separate entities, what we're trying to define, what we're trying to tell you is that our role is supporting the advancement of our town, right? And we like the idea of building a new school as a board, right? But our role does not happen via their resolution. When they pass a resolution to state that they're in opposition of high-density housing, right? We don't vote on that resolution, nor do we participate in them bringing that before their board, right? They're asking us to pass resolutions in front of this board, right, in front of this council, in support of the referendum that they're putting together, for which we haven't done yet, but we've publicly come out and stated that we support it. I think no different than any member of the public coming out and stating that they support it. We just do so from behind the dais.
right, so but there's other ways to participate than being involved in their resolution. So you've mentioned pilot programs before, right? There's been discussions of pilot programs.
What, yeah.
So if you're discussing pilot programs for the property, you're thinking it's gonna be housing. Because you're not sharing
necessarily.
pilot funds. So
Not
you would,
necessarily, that's not true.
hold on, so if you would share pilot funds for a non-housing project with the Board of Education?
The pilot, I'm gonna tell you the same thing.
The only way it can be a pilot is if it was a area, exactly right.
They need a redevelopment.
And that is not. So it's gonna be probably regular taxes up there, and then they share in piles to get their taxes from that. They'll get their share of money from that. Unless a study was done and then somehow they declared that was gonna be a study, area needed redevelopment.
It's not currently zoned for that.
Correct, but when the pilot discussions came up at the collaboration meetings, weren't sample pilot agreements provided to the board to review and discuss pretty much at
Correct.
length?
Correct.
And wasn't there a decision on which pilot sharing model there would be used?
There's
Not at all.
there's no decision that was made, and they gave us information.
They showed two or three different
The
scenarios.
board, again, the school board has their preference for what they prefer, that they've conveyed to us. We, not holding the pilot in our hands, can't and won't make that decision ahead of time.
And I've made that clear
To the
from
board
day
on multiple
one.
occasions.
And I've said that publicly many times, that I cannot commit anything until I have a contract, a pilot in hand, and it's a done deal. I can't spend money we do not have.
The pilot that's in discussion, Mr. Pardalis, is the one that is most likely to be on the one on Union Ave.
These collaboration meetings are not solely based upon a referendum, so much of the discussion is fluid, right?
So the sample pilot agreements that were reviewed, were they for the Union Ave project or for the referendum?
They were just sample pilot projects in review.
Other towns, what other towns do with pilots and how they cater to the Board of Education?
Okay, so when it says here, both parties agreed to further pursue a cost-sharing model based on percentage, what was the agreement between the two parties for the cost-sharing model? Which property was that related to?
It just says we're gonna pursue a cost-sharing model, that's all that we're gonna do.
Steve,
There was not one.
do you have a question? You came up here making comments. I'm just wondering, I never heard the question. Or you just vented?
I'm up here for public comment.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's been a dialogue
No,
back
I
and
just
forth.
want to understand where
Certainly
you're
don't have
coming
one
from.
clear question.
Yeah.
Some issues with the things that have been said and things that have been going on. Using the public comment time to express those.
No, that's fine. I'm just
Thank
trying
you.
to understand, like, where are you on this? Are you for it, against it?
Here's what, if
What
you're
are you
me-
asking us to do?
Oh, no, I'm just responding to some of the comments that have been made recently. I don't think, I've been involved in the Board of Education side of this. I haven't been coming to council meetings regarding the issue. The last two meetings, I've seen that this issue has been commented on by the council, and I wanted to respond to some of those comments in the same manner the council uses its microphone. And frankly, I started I live right by SRD. This started as an inquiry into what was going to be happening to that property. I eventually, after getting all the reports, reading everything, seemed like the most likely outcome was new housing. Someone who has purchased a house near a school. I never in a million years imagined a public school would be closed, sold, and developed. So I was opposed to it for that reason. As I started this process, I found out that there was some sort of glossing over the fact that it was going to be housing. And ultimately, what I don't want is when we vote for a referendum, I have kids in the school, I have a kid in the school system. I support the education, and actually the referendum generally, as a whole, I support, except for the sale of SRD to most likely become housing. Because you know what happens one day, 5 years from now, when they start developing that property, people in the neighborhood could be like, when did this happen? How did this happen? Okay, I voted for better schools for my kids. I understand that. I was even okay with the 2% tax increase. But I didn't know that they were going to be developing this property in a high-traffic area that's already a dangerous cross-section between Glen Wild down to Union Ave. And if anyone lives in the neighborhood, you know how the traffic is in that area. Pickup and drop-off are already difficult at Samuel O'Donnell, so developing the property would make it even more difficult. So anyway, I started there. Then getting some of the responses from the board, I became even more concerned with the project. When they say that they are not anticipating it to be housing, but they valued the property for housing. So that number we've been talking about, the $5 million, they got an appraisal. The appraiser said, I'm going to appraise this for the destruction of Samuel Darnold, the rezoning, and the building of multifamily housing. And then...
I'm sorry, Ever, if they're gonna rezone, that's where we would come in, as far as, we could say, no, we don't want apartments, and there is with the, I think, the fourth round housing number, I think was 269 that we have to have, but that.
I think it's over 400.
No, it's been changed.
It was
Okay.
changed.
Our planner's working with them.
We could say
We're down
no to that.
269.
I mean, I agree with you, that's a difficult spot, but ultimately it'd be nice to have a medical center or a senior housing, something, something to create revenue.
One thing we can't do as a council is we can't speculate what's going to be there. Could there be housing? Absolutely can. I've said that, I don't know how many times, going back probably a year ago, we said that could happen. But he can't do anything until they physically sell it to a developer or to whoever is interested in buying it. Once it goes out, we can zone it part of our business zone. As I said last meeting, it could become an RM, which is senior housing. But that decision can't be made until the referendum passes. If it fails, this all goes out the window. So we can't speculate what's going to happen until March 11th.
Right, but both business and RM zoning allows for housing too. So I
Sure
understand the conversation that could be on
Sure.
business. And RM, I mean,
None of the,
Mr. Ray, I know you say it's senior housing. It's really titled garden-style apartments. And there's a conditional use for senior housing under RM.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's basically looking at,
ourselves, though.
But that's what I'm saying, we can't make those decisions.
So it is in our best interest to evaluate every potential outcome that could come from the referendum. And we do so for the entirety of the town, understand what all potential outcomes are, right? From a revenue perspective, from a development perspective, whether there's a charter school, whether there's senior housing, whether there's business that goes in there, right? The board needs to evaluate its value to put the referendum together. We need to evaluate the potential outcomes that come once they sell the property. That property won't be and can't be rezoned until the New Jersey School Board decommissions the school and it goes for sale. It is going to maintain its zoning until then.
It'll happen simultaneously, once they decommission
Once
it
they
and that's
decommission
filed.
the zoning-
And as I
but why
said-
shouldn't
I
residents
said it
worry
the
about that
last-
now?
Excuse me?
I understand it's all like, oh, it's gonna happen then, it's this long, it's this long. Why shouldn't we be concerned about that now?
I
This
don't
is
have
the
a problem
time,
being
this
concerned.
is the time that we have
Yeah.
to consider it. After the referendum passes, then the votes are gone. So to say like it's later, or it's not gonna be for a while, or it's not gonna happen right away, I understand that. But the idea is, with foresight, to look ahead to what's in the best interest for the voters, for them all to have all the information to decide for themselves. So to say that, oh, well, that won't be for 3 years, that won't be for 5 years, that's how kind of projects come up out of nowhere without people really knowing where they came from.
So we've discussed all potential outcomes for this property, you agree, right? A bunch of potential outcomes for this property. And we understand what they're all going to be. We presented those to the public. We know what fiscally provides them the best benefit against the referendum, which is what the school board is presenting, right? And from a political standpoint, that makes perfect sense, and we're in support of it. That being said, like, the information is out there, we know it, we've presented it to the public what the potential outcomes are, and now we're tasking you guys with making that decision. We support the closing of the Samuel R. Donald and the expansion of Walter T. Bergen, regardless of any of the potential outcomes that come, and we're telling the public that whatever those potential outcomes are, as a council, we're prepared to handle for you. And I think that's what you want to hear,
Yeah.
correct?
Well, the side that we're just gonna put this to rest is, we're looking down the road like we should be, because we have a 10-year plan for a lot of things. So you have to look down the road. And we are talking about the possibility it could happen 3 years from now, 5 years, there's a timeline. And the sale is, the referendum to where it goes to sale, there's a timeline that everything has to happen. And I've said at our last meeting, when we really get involved is after the referendum is either passed or failed. If it fails, then it all ends. If it passes, then we have to start meeting with our ordinance review committee, all right? And then start thinking about what type of ordinance we do, how we're gonna zone it. It's not something that we're gonna wait 2 years and do. We're in the process of talking about it now with everybody. I've talked publicly, people I meet down the park, people I meet in the grocery store, people ask me questions, and I tell them in favor of it, but I give the same speech every time, so I'm consistent all the way down. And I said the same speech the last 2 meetings, you've seen them, of how it's gonna work. But there's a timeline when we get involved. The timelines when we get involved is when the school goes to be decommissioned, and that's how it goes for sale. Once it's gonna go for sale, we have to have some type of ordinance, so when they go out for bid, people that are bidding on it knows what they can build there. All right, or otherwise you're not gonna get anybody. And then they have to go for a variance, which is even a longer period of time. I know where you live, I know the school's been there, I've been in this town, I'm 65 years, the school's been there, my brother went there and he's 77. All right, the school's over 100 years old. And nobody ever planned this as government, nobody ever thought about affordable housing that's coming down, the things that we have to do. We have to have something, you probably know, we have to have a whole fourth round model in place and submitted by June 30th. We're working on all this stuff now. This town's going to change, it is. Change is gonna happen. You can't control it. It's happening around us. It's happening in Pompton Lakes. It's happening in Little Falls. It's happening in Woodland Park. It's happening in Wanacue. It's happening all around us.
It would be nice to cast a vote knowing 100% what the outcome is going to be. I think that what we're tasked with doing is presenting you all the potential information, but you've got to vote now, and we won't know what's happening for 3 years, 100%. I think we painted a pretty good picture of what we desire to happen, what could occur to help offset the cost and the fiscal impact to your school taxes, right? Which are 55% of your taxes, right? Let's be honest here. So the school board is doing what they can there, and we are going to support them to help ensure that the cost to all the taxpayers remains the lowest possible throughout this potential referendum. But you've got to vote now, not knowing 110% who the buyer is going to be. We don't know who that is.
Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that.
Right? And that could change a lot of things. So ultimately is, do you see a need to expand and improve upon Walter T. Bergen because of the shortcomings of Samuel R. Donald? And I would say 100% yes. I encourage anyone to go take the tours that they've been giving, continue to attend the school board.
I'm sure your kids go there, right?
Continue to collect this information.
My son goes to MBD, he'll be at SRD soon.
Okay.
But the key is that like a lot of what we're pontificating about that create the issues with how you may vote are not gonna be resolved before the referendum comes up. It's just not gonna happen.
Any other questions, Steve?
Yeah, just respectfully, I just don't think that the discussion ends with the necessity for better schools in the town. That's the beginning of the discussion, but the end result and the consequences and the writing on the wall of additional development in a town that just keeps getting new housing, and the effects of that on the residents in that neighborhood, it's a fundamental change to this town. Selling a school to be commercially developed is a fundamental change, and I just think that all the voters should be aware of what they're voting on when they're voting on the referendum. So I appreciate your time today, guys.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. Okay, seeing no one else, I have a motion to close late public comment.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, our next meeting is, when is our next meeting? The
March
4th.
March 4th, 7 o'clock is a workshop meeting. Have a motion to adjourn.
Come on.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.